Alrighty, well, I lost all my footage of doing the cylinder head on my wife's car, so I'm gonna have to start from the ending and then go backwards, I guess, since I already got the head off. Lost a bunch of other footage, which kind of sucks. So yeah, right now I'm just gonna do a starter on it because for these engines, the 273 is notorious for just having faulty starters. Well, they're not faulty. It's like when it always sounds like you have a dead battery. And there was a bunch of not recalls. There was like bulletins for upgrading the positive cable and blah blah blah. Never fixed it. So it's always the starters. They just like, they're not fully dead, but they just like when you initially crank on them, it sounds like it's like it sounds like it's a bad, like weak battery. But in all, it's just a weak starter. Sucks because it's still good. It'll go forever. It's just that initial crank, and then once you put a new one on, it's gonna be like, it's a lot faster. I can't show you now, but maybe I can find a video online or something, I don't know. But that sucks, so I'm gonna go ahead and do starter now, and then I'll go ahead and put the cylinder head back on. So for this, I just sprayed this like gasket remover stuff on here that I get from work, so it makes this nice and easy to get off. So basically I'm just gonna take like the back side of the razor and just go through. You don't have to get it completely clean. If you look up what MB Mercedes-Benz quantifies as clean, is like you can have a little bit of residue behind, so it's not worth trying to, you know, risk getting metal particles in the engine or whatever. So I'm just gonna run the back side of a razor over, clean that all up, and then I will get the head gasket. And then always make sure that you blow out your, I can't even freaking see. Yeah, blow out your cylinder head bolt holes. Oh dang it, I blew in the passage. You get fluid in there, and then you could, you know, hydro lock that bolt and then crack your engine block. So make sure all these bolt holes are cleared out. Which one is this one? I can't tell what this one is. Just oil that in there. Yeah, that's the oil. Cylinders. Clean this up. I think I'll turn my compressor on. Alright, so OEM head gasket here. Some black RTV. So one thing I don't trust is uneven surfaces. So what I'm gonna do is tilt you guys up here. Try. Right here where the front cover mates with the engine block, I'm just gonna go ahead and put like a little bit of silicone here. And right here, be careful, there's this oil passage right there. Just put a tiny bit, a little tiny bit, because I don't like when anybody will tell you that, you know, those uneven surfaces can cause leaks where they mate together. They're not 100% perfect. So all that's cleaned off. Everything's wiped down. I'm going to double check, double wipe it. Double wipe it with a brand new towel. It's funny because, you know, when you look up the repair instructions, there's no mention of putting silicone anywhere, but you can tell they used it in certain spots. but it never says in the repair instructions to reapply it anywhere. You can see they use some here, and clearly they use some here. So I don't know. Then just go ahead and throw this on your dowels here. Doke. And let's go ahead and grab the cylinder head. Alright, this is the tough part because you don't want to drag your cylinder head around on these dowels and score it up, because you can cause a lot of problems. So I'm probably not going to talk much once I get it on there. So don't forget to put your exhaust manifold on, because if you don't, you're kind of screwed. It's a real pain in the butt to get it on. I've done that before, torqued the head bolts and like, shit! So that was a nightmare, kind of, to get that on. I think I'm gonna throw the head on now. And you have to guide it through the chain. Okay, so I got the chain through, I got the head on now, and don't forget these bolts here. So there's two that go on the inside, so don't forget about those ones, which are the bigger ones. I don't know where they are at the moment, but don't forget these, because once you put the cam gears on, you'd be kind of screwed to get them in there. They're real hard to get in with the cam gears. It's possible, but it's a real pain in the butt. So there are these ones. They'll be stained to the heads with oil, so that's how you kind of know that those go there. I don't really know what I did with the rest of them though. These things cold anymore. That's cold. Okay, those are going to come your head bolts. Technically, there is a specification for the cylinder head bolts for these. You can reuse them if you can measure them and they're below the length, but I'm just using new ones. This is always a good idea. I'm going to run those down. I think the initial torque is 20 Newton meters. See how long they are. This isn't the first step to the torque. I'm just getting them ran down first, like flush. don't know if this torque wrench can go to 20. So the first torque spec's 20. And I need to use an extension. Let me go double check the torque specs. First torque spec is 20, so it's 20, 50, 90, 90. So 20 Newton meters. $50. Set my torque wrench to 90. one more step. 90s. One. Two. Three. Four. I think these were 20 Newton meters also, but I'm just going to give them a full snug. Joke. Alright, cylinder head's torqued down. Now I'm going to put the camshafts in and stuff like that. It's a way to tell which camshaft goes where. One has a thread in the back that was for this little thingy over here, so just put this one over here. Oops. This one over here because this is the one with the thread, the hole that's threaded down the center. And then this one won't have a threaded hole, so that goes here. And you want to just make sure all your rockers, or whatever your followers, are seated on top of the valves, that none of you to knock any off. That'll be a bad time. And then on top of your camshafts here, you're gonna have these dots. There's one here, one here. That's where, you know, top dead center is for, that's where the cam gears are gonna go on. So So you don't have to get it perfect right now. You get it close because there's no way you're going to be able to hold them straight up because it wants to fight the lifters. So just get them close and you'll be fine. I'll start throwing your stuff back on. Throw these back on. Little retainers. Just gotta remember where they go. This one goes here, clearly. This one goes here. And this one goes, oh, right here. Don't go Jesus. Don't go too crazy on these because they'll break and you'll bend those things or whatever. So just get them a little snug. And I'm trying to think if I could even throw these in yet. Try to get this started on here first. I think the cam might be lifted up a little bit, but if we're gonna be able to get this seated, I don't know. Let's find out. So it's just sitting on there. It's not lined up to the dowel yet. So what you're gonna do is find your T60, wherever that big one is, that one in the back. So it's just sitting on there. So what you want to do is push on the cam while rotating this and try to get the pin lined up with the cam. Sorry if this is blocking your view, but there we go. I think I got it. Alright. It's really hard to do this by yourself. Should be real freaking close here. I think I got it. Didn't have it. Or it wasn't quite seated yet. Try to get back in there again. There we go. Once it's on there, it'll cover up that hole, that little dowel, or that little locator mark on the cam. It'll slide all the way over that. So now that we got that on, and then to know for sure, there's a dot here, and a dot here. So these line up with the head. So that way you know this is facing up, so that's right. And then next thing I'm doing is don't forget your chain guide, because you will be screwed, McGrewed if you forget this thing. I think I gotta take this camshaft back out. It's in my way. You should have put that guide in first. I always forget. Go ahead and take your cam guide here, or your chain guide. And this will rotate a little bit, and that's fine. So there you go. Throw these back in. Okay, same thing here. I want my the dot is right here, so it's not quite, so the dot's not going to face like this way, it's going to kind of be that way, because that's technically true to up, because the head's tilted. So let me find my ratchet here. This one's going to fight. That one's fighting the cam and globe and stuff, so let me grab the glass. So here we have this with our pin in it to hold these, but what you can see here is they're not perfectly lined up, so this is going to be a little bit of a problem. So you can get the teeth started here, and then once it goes on enough, then you can get a screwdriver, a flathead. I'll show you, come in here, you twist it a little bit, and then it'll go on the rest of the way. So I know that the dot lines up with the dowel on here, so there's a dowel there. You can't see it, it's on the front here. And there's a dot here, so that's where the dowel is. And then, well, sorry, that's where this dowel lines up with, is that hole here. So what we're gonna do is on the front of the cam, you can see this, let's see, yep, this mark and a single line. Single line goes straight up, these two will line up with the ones on here, the dot. So the dot on this cam right here will go in between these lines right here. So that's when you know you're on time for the cams. So I can't really see. They're really hard to see because they're laser etched in there. So the way it works, pretend this is it. So say this is the dot, my fingers, and this is the two lines. You just get them like this, and then they might be a little bit off if your engine's turned slightly, so you just got to line it up your best you can. It'll kind of be like this. You don't want it like this. It's really obvious once you figure it out. So you want the two lines and the dot to mate together, and that's when you know your cams are on time, your sprockets. So now we have to turn the camshaft to line up with the dowel so we can push the cam on, if that makes any sense. So since I know that the dowel on the cam sprocket is going to be at the 12 o'clock position relative to the cam sprocket, I know I got to turn this and get it lined up and push on at the same time. So it started. So here's the problem I was saying. So the teeth, these ones aren't fully straight on. So what you do, grab a flathead and you get it in between the gears, and you can just kind of twist it a little bit, and then there, see, pull your pin out, and then so I was just twisting like this to turn the front teeth to line up, and then just to make sure, you can give them a little tap there. I think this still has some room to go here actually. That one's fully on, where this front plate's almost touching right there, so that's all lined up. And so now we need to put our dowels back in. Let's go ahead, and you can kind of see through the front. You'll be trying to line up the dowel, and the chain guide's a little obscured. Oh, I guess my light's dead. So what you gotta do is stick something in there and just pick up this chain guide a little bit, and then get your lined up here. But I need to take this off of here first. Alright, let's do this again. I got that one lined up. Let me grab this one. It's a little harder to see. one got a little buggered up somehow from, I don't know, my channel locks or something. Same thing here, you're gonna have to pick up this guide rail here and line up the hole to the dowel. Come up a little bit. And in. Stupid. Oh, nice. Then you can just thread in a bolt a little bit here in the end to help drive this the rest of the way in. And you just hammer that till it's flush with the front of the head. And then the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put the cam cover on. Alright, let's go ahead and seal this up. So let's start with here. Around these holes. Around this one. Beautiful. Around this. And then this should be. Ooh. And that's all she wrote. Let's go ahead and throw this on. These are 12 Newton meters, the torque spec plus a 90 degree. I am reusing the bolts. Which I misplaced. I didn't get a chance to clean this off the cylinder head or the cover. I forgot to take that to work to clean it, so going back on dirty on the outside, which I'm totally fine with. Is it 12? These are These are E10. Use this coverage. I'm gonna go ahead and torque all these down and then do the 90. Then put these back on. Well, a lot of people say you're supposed to replace these, but I never do. So you got A is for intake, right? Oh, mix them up. A is for intake, E is for exhaust, or E is for intake, A is for exhaust. E is for intake. No, E is for frick. A is for intake, E is for exhaust. Yeah? Let's see. It's A is for A is for exhaust, E is for intake. And then on the front of these, let me find them first and then I'll show you. So on the front of these, well, on the back side they have the dots that line up with this, so you can turn it until it stops. And there's a dot here, and just like the other ones, the other cams, there's another one with 2 dots, and you just line up the single dot in the middle. There's really no other way to do this, because as long as you got your other timing right, then these should just match right up. And the same thing will happen is it might not be perfect, it might be up a little bit, so just do your best to get them lined up. They won't be straight on yet until you put the tensioner in. So I got them lined up now, and then I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these down by hand. This one's regular threaded, and the exhaust is reverse thread. Just remember that. It's a 27 mil. Nope, it's a 24. It's a 24. I think the torque spec is it 60 on these? No, I gotta go check. That's one thing I forgot. Let me get the torque spec on these. It's 145 for these pulse wheel bolts. Let's go if I can get set up here. $145 meters. This one I'm gonna motor turned over a little bit, which is pretty standard here. Stick this back here. Put this to reverse, because this is reverse thread. Oops. Okay. Now the motor turned a little bit, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it back over at the time. So I got to go backwards a little bit. Okay, that's on time. I'm gonna install my tensioner. Here's what you have to do for your tensioner if you're gonna reuse it. One, you have to take this ring off the front, move it down one. So let's take this snap ring off, or this little ring, move it down to this one. And there's a little collar right here, you're gonna have to take that off. because we're gonna have to push it, put it in the vise, and squeeze it. And inside here, there's a little stopper that keeps it from going back in. So take that stopper out, keep track of where the teeth are facing, and then you're gonna have to press it in a vise. This ring right here will snap into the backside. So once you take the vise off, this shouldn't spring out. So let me go ahead and do that. So I went ahead and I moved this part. That's hard to see. Let me see if I get some more light on that. I moved this little stopper here. I took it off, and you can see, it's hard to see, but on the back side, so the teeth face, so the way to tell if it's on right is it has to face the teeth, so this thing can't get pushed back in. So there's also a flat spot on the back of this. It's kind of hard to see. This faces the bolt side. So, and then there's a smooth part right here. So take this little tooth thing, set it on the smooth part, facing the correct way. I'm a little hungry, so I'm shaking. Okay, now that I have it on the smooth part, I'm going to compress. After I move this ring down here, I'm going to compress this, and this ring will snap in down here, and the tensioner shouldn't come out. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. Alright, so I got it reset. So what I did was I moved this, I took the thing out, the little tooth stopper thingy. Then when you compress it all the way down, you hear the ring snap. Then you put that piece on, then you twist this collar back into place. And it holds that down. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to put the tensioner in. You counter rotate the engine backwards a little bit, and what it's going to do is going to push the plunger in, then release the oh, you know what, I think I messed up on one thing. Alright, take a million. So I moved that thing as far forward as possible, because what's going to happen is when you push the engine backwards, it's going to push on this, so that little stopper has to move back a little bit to allow this ring that we relocked up here to reset, or it'll then slide up, release this, and the tension will come out, if that makes any sense. So right now I'm going to put it in. If you did it right, you'll push this back, and then this stopper here will move a little bit to release the ring, and then it'll come out, or you just buy a new one. But I'm not buying a new one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this in here, and then if it's dead quiet where you're at, you should be able to hear it come out, spring out. Okay, and then get on the crank. Spin the engine backwards about 15 degrees, just enough that the tensioner will push on that. And then, I don't know if you heard that, but it ratcheted out. So, it's out now. And you can go ahead and spin your motor over, check your timing, do what you're gonna do. And that's it for that. Now I'm going to assemble the rest of the motor. Put the alternator back on. And I will go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go I'm going to tighten that some more, the tensioner, because that's what has the gasket on it. You can reuse them. I don't know, a lot of people say you can't. It's kind of risky. Have the tensioner tight, throw the alternator back on. Change Need my gloves for the millionth time. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this centrifuge little pump thing back here. So that goes in the back of this camshaft, and it's also reverse thread. So go ahead and get that on. You need like a deep 8 for that one. I don't know if I'm going the right way or not. Alright, got that on. It goes under the car. What I like to do for this cover that goes in the back is grab a little bit of silicone on my finger, because this thing leaks like all the time. And then I just go ahead and put some around the gasket, a thin layer, because these leak all the time. Super thin layer, I'm talking. So you put a new one on, it's gonna leak. Then it has these gold dowels which like to fall out, so be careful with those. Stick that on the back. It's the last one. Somewhere. Short one bolt that goes measure. I don't know where it went. Find it later, I guess. And then the next thing, if you didn't get a new one of these plugs that go on the back of the cylinder head there, just Same thing with the silicone. Just go ahead and put some on your finger. Drop it on the floor. That was super cool. And then just put like a bead around this and shove it in there. Okie doke. Let's reseal this front cover here. Go on the inside of the bolt holes here. On the inside. Put this on the front here, which I seem to be missing a dowel, which I don't think has the one I lost. The hell does pincher bug come from? The fuck? Serious? The heck? What in the hook? Shit. I'm not sure what happened to the dowel on there. Could be an issue. Heck. Let me check the. What's going on? Okay, doke. Now I'm gonna go ahead and finish tightening the alternator finally. So, alright, so I had mentioned before removing these these vacuum lines going to the intake manifold, you gotta be super careful because these plastic parts break off in the intake. So I removed the map sensor with it, and then I just cut this one. And then what you can do is you can spin it and then cut the sides until it falls off, because you don't just want to rip it off because it's gonna break. So that's what I did. So I just have an extra piece of vacuum line, and then I'm gonna cut it to how it needs to be. And then I left this one, which is pretty crappy itself. It's like they just fall apart, but it's better than breaking it in the intake manifold. And another thing that I recommend is these gaskets suck fat balls. They're metal, and they're supposed to secure to the intake from these little things, but they just fall off, and you're gonna fight them and be pissed off. If you could get some bolts, extra bolts, cut a flat head. So if you have so this is a stock intake bolt, cut the head off, put a flat spot, and then just use these as locating dowels. Put your gaskets on first, and then drop your intake onto those dowels, because it's such a pain in the ass to get it, especially if it's your first time. You're probably gonna save a lot of time, but I'm not gonna. I don't have the dowels with me. I left them at work, but I'm just gonna line them up without it, and it's gonna suck because I don't really feel like making them. And I've done it enough that I feel fine, not messing the gaskets up. So I gotta find the other one. So now I'm just, I did the secondary air pump, that's on. And then the combination valve for the secondary air. And now I'm just plugging in all the injectors. And there's a connector back here you gotta be careful about. It's like a sensor for the flaps. There's one here and there's one back here. You gotta make sure you get then all the injectors. And pretty straightforward for that. So I'm just gonna keep going together. All right. Gloves are ripped again. These gloves kind of suck balls. Let's see, let's get this injector here. This one here, which clips onto the side here. And we got this here. Actually, I had a clip over here for this. It's not. Can't go all the way over here. I run into this every time.